Thank you for coming to Paul's session. It's awesome to see everybody here this morning. I will start with a disclaimer and just say that I've been a big fan of Paul's work since it first sort of came online at IAIA, and have communicated with him back and forth as developments have been made in the platforms that he's been using. And I'll say right at the outset that I think that it must be revolution, or at least revolution in thinking, because Paul's been rattling on about this for a number of IAIs now. The platform just gets better and better, and the uptake seems to be slow. So getting to my particular topic, which Paul has asked me to speak about, the law and policy lens, I don't really see this as a legal issue. I see it more as what we want as a community, as a society, how we want to work with information. And the things that excite me about the platforms that have been developed are the potential, as we've just heard, for people to be more engaged, and better for decision makers to be more engaged, because it's often the political level that makes the decisions. So if we can use these sorts of platforms to better inform those, all the better. But of course, there are a few things to consider. What are the filing requirements? Maybe the most important piece for proponents and their consultants. And we still love paper. Many of you in this room will have filled out forms digitally and then had to print them out, sign them, and take them and deliver them. You know, we still have that idea that we have to have paper, and sometimes we need it for legal reasons, including in this case. So thinking about how and what the filing requirements are to allow what has been developed, I think is critically important. In some jurisdictions, including my own, those that are directly affected by a project, the courts have ruled, must have an opportunity to have access to the information of the project that is going to directly affect them. So there are concerns about access in that regard that would have to be made, and I'll speak more about that in just a minute. In some jurisdictions, including my own, again, there's translation obligations that would have to be considered, and that sort of depends on how the information is shared with the authority in our case, and who gives it to the public. But translation obligations will, the last three basically apply to paper as well as anything digital. Meeting any open data requirements. So many jurisdictions now have open data requirements, and all the background information that Paul was talking about in his presentation that goes behind the images would have to be made available. And then the proprietary and copyright issues that you all think about with paper as well. Just a couple of things from the policy perspective, what I'm calling the policy perspective. Some may see it more as needing to be in law, but anyways, thinking about access. So in many areas of the world, we're still thinking about access, how to provide better access to networks and also to equipment. This image is an image of a woman in Port Clements, BC. It was in our news just this last March 20th. They just got cell service. So thinking about how to share this information and the sort of platform needs, do we need 5G to actually be able to use this data? There's also social and cultural considerations, of course. It may not be appropriate to share the information in this way. People may have barriers to using equipment like this thing in front of me. I don't have a cell phone. I'll make that known right now. And also, speaking of cell phones, this information really isn't suitable for a cell phone, right? You need computers. You need a good computer to be able to actually use the information properly. Security and authentication of the information that's going out and also coming back in is a critical component, and my colleague Tim may say more about that. And then lastly, meeting the needs for people with disabilities. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you for